Hello, and welcome to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe, brought to you by the Whole Food Health Coach LLC, where we make your goals our goals, and you're never alone on your wellness journey. Experience the information, inspiration, and collaboration of our Coach in Your Corner partnership. My name is Stephanie Wolfe. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, proud owner of the Whole Food Health Coach, now in its 9th year, and 5-time winner of Best of Gwinnett Award in endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism practices. Rachel, Sherry, and I invite you to visit WholeFoodHealthCoach.com to set up your 60-minute healthy living assessment. Our award-winning 3-phase program is changing lives. Work Well is brought to you weekly and is dedicated to your personal and professional health and wellness. I offer examples from my own life, health, marriage, family, and business. I share my research, my opinion, my faith, designed to bring you compelling content, engaging challenges, and practical body, soul, and spirit support for your wellness journey. Work Well comes to you from my personal desire to live long and strong with passion and purpose, die of old age, and help others to do the same. Now, from living rooms to boardrooms via Business RadioX, you're listening to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe. Okay, let's do this. Well, I've got a funny story for you today. It's called the Tournament of Surprises. There's a women's tournament at a golf club, and the turnout was so great that the women had to use the men's locker rooms as well as their own. Naturally, on that day, the room was off limits to men. But 8-year-old Tommy didn't realize that. So when he walked nonchalantly into the men's locker room, as he always did, he was greeted with shrieks as the women grabbed for cover. Tommy asked, "What's the matter? Haven't you ever seen a little boy before?" Okay. I thought that was a fun one to start with. All right. So if you've been listening to my podcast, really since the beginning of this year anyway, we have had such a theme. And most of the time, I seek to offer you inspiration and information, just like I just told you. I encourage you to challenge yourself, change something, improve something, let go of something, pick up something, start something, restart something, or at least begin a healthy dialogue. And get yourself moving and generate that forward movement for yourself, your healthier self. So January, we started with new beginnings. February was all about heart health. March was our marvelous marriage marathon month, as my husband and I turned 49 as a married couple. And in April, we did some spring clean. And then this month has been the Women's Health Month. So today I'm joined by Stevie Lynn Smith, a registered dietitian and content strategist with Inside Tracker, for our topic today, health and beauty from the inside out. And this will actually just be Health and Beauty from the Inside Out Part 1, because next week we're going to talk a little bit more about beauty from the inside out. But we're going to talk about data today. Don't get bored. Don't go hit your snooze or turn your volume down or anything, because remember, blood doesn't lie. Blood don't lie. I like that one. But blood work is what we're talking about today, and how Inside Tracker actually analyzes 47 biomarkers, including female hormones, DNA, physiomarker data, as well as lifestyle habits, and it can provide customized, accountable, and actionable recommendations, focused nutrition, choices and steps, as well as exercise and lifestyle changes that we all want to make, but also seeing things happen and move in the right direction is what Inside Tracker has been able to do. And we're going to talk a lot about Inside Tracker today. So welcome, Stevie Lynn Smith.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It's super great to have you. And this is kind of a first for us, or at least me, in Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe. We are doing a virtual guest today, and from Buffalo, New York, as we were talking about earlier, the different weather patterns and things like that from up there to down here. But I'm excited today because I am going to learn. I'm here to learn, and I'm a lifetime learner, so it's something I really want to do. And I love to highlight my health partners, and Inside Tracker has been one of those for sure. I am an Inside Tracker Pro. I've been a customer of Inside Tracker since 2015 and became an Inside Tracker Pro with them in 2019, which I'll tell you more about later. But making it available to all my clients, so I want you to know what I know about Inside Tracker and why I'm such a believer, what it is, what it does, how it works, and what it can mean to you as my listener, or specifically you as my client and me as your coach and partner in health. So I would love for Stevie to just take it from here and tell us when somebody asks you, what is Inside Tracker? Because it really doesn't say blood to me, but we know what it does and what it is, and I'd love for you to tell our audience about it.
Yeah. So the real simple short version is personal health analysis and data-driven wellness guide designed to help you live healthier longer. That's like the elevator pitch right there. Right?
I love that. Living healthier
We love
longer.
it.
It's what I'm about.
Right? Exactly. That health span, really making sure we're optimizing that. So as you said in the beginning, data. We're talking data today. And I know data isn't everybody's thing, but that's why Inside Tracker Pros exist. And if you need a little bit more help with that data and how to take that data and make it actionable items, that's why Inside Tracker is here. So basically, what we look at is a number of insights, of course, blood being the main insight. So looking at a blood draw similar to if you went to like a Quest, a LabCorp, you can get your blood drawn at any of those locations. You can also get it drawn at home as an option. But taking that information in addition to other data, including physiological markers like resting heart rate, sleep, your exercise regimen can be all uploaded to your Inside Tracker app and evaluated there as well, along with DNA. So putting all of those pieces together and looking at like, all right, Stephanie, this is where you are now. We want to take you from good to great, right? Because people are like, oh, I can go get my blood drawn from my doctor. This is not to shame doctors in any way, shape, or form, but we all know how the healthcare system functions. It's more reactionary versus preventative, right?
Yes,
Looking at we treat sick versus we prevent sick. So Inside Tracker is looking to not diagnose or treat any medical issues, but how we can take every person and, like we said, live healthier longer, improve health span, but take us from good to great, which is where Inside Tracker comes in, looking at these 45, 47 biomarkers and giving you optimized zones. And those zones are developed based on you, where you are in the life cycle, what you do, who you are, how active you are. Are you a plant-based individual? Are you gluten-free? Do you not have dairy? Whatever your lifestyle and nutrition habits look like, okay, these are your optimized zones. Because Stephanie and I have different optimized zones. I'm almost 35. I'm premenopausal. My optimized zones are going to be different than Stephanie's. I'm an endurance athlete. That's how I identify personally. So things look different for me versus Stephanie. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just how can we hone in and look at these different biomarkers that will impact, not just our overall health, but our quality of life. And then through Inside Tracker's platform, based on how many years of science? Thousands
since
of papers.
2009, at least since 2009.
Yep. But Gil started working on this, our chief science officer, many years, this was an idea many years ago before it came to life, right? In 2009. And taking all of that information and looking at, okay, how can we give you these optimized zones? Great. But what does this mean? And then what actions can you take to implement to improve these biomarkers?
I love how it puts the keys in my hand, actually, where I can, get the order that comes from Inside Tracker sent to my email address, and then I print it out. I set up my appointment with Quest. Actually, I just did this, and again this year. I usually do one a year, twice a year, maybe a third if I'm trying to work on something specific, if there's something that needs more optimization. And so not only does it give you the data, but it teaches you what the data says. And I think that's what matters, because when my clients, a lot of times they'll come to me and go, all right, I just had my blood work done. This looks like high. It says high. This says normal. What does all this mean? And, there's so much that I can answer, but also what I'm allowed to do and what I help to kind of point my clients towards is follow the app we have on our phones, but also on the computer, you can put in all of your own profile information, your age, your activity level, and all of those things. And when that information comes in, like I'm just waiting for new ones, because this past week I went ahead and did my Inside Tracker on Tuesday morning, because of the new biomarkers that Stevie's going to be talking to us about, and for women's health. And so I really wanted to lean into the hormone health and some of those things. So I'm waiting for that information to arrive. And when it does, I'm going to be able to look at the information and read about it and click on download, little blogs and things that they've written that will help me to understand what has happened or what is happening. And it also helps me to understand where I fit within my age range, my activity level, the things that I eat. The profile allows me, I'm pescatarian, so the profile allows me to go in and say, don't necessarily recommend this or that because I don't eat this or that. And it has great recommendations in there. So that's what I love about it. It gives me the information that I need to take care of myself and optimize. And we use that word a lot with Inside Tracker because it'll show you where you might be at risk or where, and that's like red line, obviously. And then there's also some cautionary areas, a yellow, that just tells you here's something you should look into, or here's where you need to maybe spend some time talking with your doctor and correcting those things that we can do. And there's new DNA and there's new all kinds of different testing. So talk to us about the women's health new biomarkers that have just been added that I'm getting ready to see on my computer screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very excited about this initiative. The team did a great job. So 3 new biomarkers are included now. And these were done to kind of help eliminate that guesswork from hormone balance, right? Hormone balance, I feel like, is one of those terminologies that is thrown around a lot. So I'm going to, of course, start and answer like, what is hormone balance for those who may hear it, but they're not 100% sure. So, of course, hormones are the chemical messengers in the body that signal the start and stop of different processes. Mm-hmm. So in a healthy body, these hormone levels are going to fluctuate kind of in continuous patterns. That's normal. So this balance really just describes the body's ability to maintain these healthy rhythms and changes in hormone levels. So the balance between those levels, of course, can reflect life stage, the body's response to emotional and physical stress, and of course, will definitely impact like sleep quality, energy levels, and a number of other things in the body. So this is why we're taking a closer look at different markers related to women's health. The first one, is estradiol, then progesterone, and then TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. So most people we're finding, as we've kind of brought these women's health biomarkers out into the world and told people we're doing this, estradiol seems to be one where people are a little bit more confused as to, okay, estradiol, I just want to know what my estrogen level is. So estradiol falls into the class of estrogen. We chose estradiol because it's the most potent form of the female sex hormone estrogen. So meaning it's most potent, is that this is going to be a pretty easy level to test and get a good picture of estrogen status within the body, right? So it's the most potent form. So it's going to be one that is more dominant of kind of that estrogen family. So we're looking at estrogen via estradiol. Estradiol helps to regulate lipid and glucose metabolism. It impacts body fat distribution, inflammation, and cognition, just a few things. So going to kind of touch on a lot of those aspects that when we're thinking about health span, we want to pay attention to, of course, looking at all of those levels. We will also see estradiol decline during peri and postmenopausal years. And this will contribute to some of those symptoms that, every woman, of course, is very different in this transition. And yes, I have not gone through this transition, but I have, interacted with enough women who have. But when we look at this is going to impact those vasomotor symptoms like night sweats and hot flashes. So depending on where a woman is kind of in the life cycle, looking at these levels can be an indicator of like, okay, these are the symptoms I'm dealing with. Here is the data I have behind it. Okay, what can I do to help manage these? Suboptimal, so below that optimal level of estradiol, is associated with an increase in likelihood of age-related conditions like bone mineral density. So important for every woman. Always a big one. Even I wish I started thinking about it before I was 30, but at least I started when I was 30.
Say it, girl. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that it's really what we do earlier in life that affects our later in life health or health conditions that we may struggle with. So pay attention to what Stevie is telling you right now.
Right? Bones. I'm weight training, not to be skinny, but to have strong bones when I'm older. That's what I always say to tell the people, my young clients. And I was like, bone health, bone health, bone health. So estradiol plays a big role in that. It can also contribute to poor cardiovascular health and impact vascular and mental health. So it has a big impact, like I said, on a lot of those things that we're looking at when we're looking at health span and how can we optimize our health span. So I think that's a very important one. Of course, I think everything's important in its own way, but it is a very powerful measurement that a lot of women can now have access to.
And what about the woman who says, "Well, progesterone? Why do I have progesterone?
Yes.
Sorry."
No,
I think there's a lot of
right.
confusion about men and women both have estrogen and progesterone.
Yes, that's a great question. So progesterone is a steroid hormone, and it is still vital to a woman's reproductive health. When we're not thinking kind of the reproductive aspect of it, it also can indirectly affect your sleep quality. And this is where body temperature comes in, right?
Yeah.
Promotes heat conversion, promotes wakefulness. And research shows that high progesterone levels are associated with increased worry and decreased working memory accuracy. So some of that cognition aspect that we're looking at. And they can also, again, the high levels can be associated with age-related diseases. Usually those extra high levels, if we're thinking about disease risk, with the progesterone, if you get this back and it is high, inside track will be like, yep, it's probably best you discuss this with your healthcare provider, but healthcare providers, I don't think I've ever seen a healthcare provider pull progesterone. So you wouldn't even know that this is an issue. So, it's not something that women should just be brushing to the side, right? Even though it can have indirect impacts on these things, it still is an impact, and it still can impact that overall health.
Awesome. All right. What about talk about the thyroid stimulating hormone?
Ooh, I was most excited about this. I've
I
become
know,
very,
me too. That's why I want you to spend as much time on it as you can.
Very interested in the thyroid. So when we're looking at TSH, so I'll make it the shorter version. So this is the most sensitive marker of thyroid function, making it the best biomarker to measure, to assess that overall thyroid function. So why should we care so much about our thyroid? I know a lot of people are familiar with hypo and hyperthyroidism, but even if we're not dealing with that, we still want to check in on that thyroid and make sure it's functioning optimally. I know a lot of people who have had their thyroid checked by their doctor, and it's not clinically hypothyroid, but they're feeling the effects like fatigue, struggles with their weight, but it's not in that clinical range. So they're kind of just stuck being like, okay, but I'm really tired all the time. What do I do? So TSH regulates metabolic functions like lipogenesis and lipolysis, the creation and breakdown of those fats for energy. It also is going to regulate energy storage and energy expenditure. So TSH is going to have a lot of impact on metabolic regulations, and it contributes kind of to the role they play in many other processes, like going back to that body temperature regulation, looking at bone growth, nervous system, blood pressure regulation. So it's kind of just one of those areas where it really is not just going to impact overall health, looking at health span, but also quality of life, right? Which is a part of health span, right? Mm-hmm. Living healthier longer. So definitely one that tends to be neglected, again, by doctors. So now you can look at this and say, okay, am I functioning optimally, or is there more work I need to do that can really impact quality of life and health span?
The majority of the clients that I have and those that I work with on a regular basis are usually around the 35 to 65 range, 40 to 60, even more so. And a lot of them are finding what I found, obviously, as we age, is that a lot of those things that we are just normal aging patterns where our blood and cells and organs as well as systems are slowing down. They're slowing down for a reason, to keep us healthier longer, living longer. And there are ways that we can help support those systems so that they are working, and we keep using the word optimally. So what I love about what Inside Tracker is able to do is help provide nutritional information that helps support those systems. And that's what I do. So my work is more customized, and what Inside Trackers allows me to do is to customize it even further once my clients see the blood work and they're reading the information and they're seeing what needs to be changed or seeing where they're doing really well. Let's do more of that. I always say if it's working, do more of that. If it's not working, then stop it. But there's some things that are balanced. We keep using the word balance when it comes to hormones. There's a lot of things out of balance, and that's where perimenopause and menopause start communicating these messages, like Stevie was saying earlier. Those hormones send messages through the body, and sometimes those messages get confusing, or the message doesn't make it through all the way, and so your body is trying to regulate those things and bring them back into balance all the time. So one of the things that I do with my clients is find out where we have imbalance, where we're out of balance. And I don't treat or prescribe, but I also believe that real food has answers to almost everything, and as we age, we need to understand what we need to eat maybe a little less of, what we need to avoid altogether, and what we need to increase as it relates to our food consumption and the nutrient density of the foods that we consume. And so it's not just the blood work, but what the blood work tells us and how we can address those things. So if you want to spend some time on that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking, particularly at looking at hormone health, one of the aspects when I'm looking at these and thinking about like, okay, nutritionally, what's going on? What do I need to improve? When I'm thinking about supporting that hormone health, one of the big things, at least for who I'm seeing as a pro, like one-on-one clients, is that overall energy intake. That's usually where I always start. How is overall energy intake?
Yes. And sleep.
Usually the starting point for anyone, but especially when it's coming to hormone health. Because when we're looking at hormone creation, hormone function, looking at all body processes, if we don't have enough overall energy, the body is going to start to shut down and prioritize certain functions within the body. Usually like speaking to like my premenopausal women, the easiest example is menstruation is so energy demanding, but not necessary for life. So that's why we see amenorrhea, right? So it's an easy thing for the body to kind of shut down, and shows that we're not getting enough energy. Of course, that gets a little bit more complicated as we enter menopause, postmenopause, etc. We can't use that kind of as a guiding light, but overall energy intake. Then looking at, okay, are we getting enough of those nutrient dense foods? Are we getting enough fats? Enough of those healthy unsaturated fats, right?
Super important.
Super important, necessary for hormone production. And you know, of course, we want to be cognizant of our saturated fat intake. You know, we still need a little bit of saturated fat, right, for some of those hormones. But of course, with how most people eat, we need to be more cognizant to make sure we're not getting enough of those saturated fats before anyone says anything, not demonizing all saturated fat.
Not at
but
all.
We usually we don't need to work too hard to get that in our diet typically. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things where I start, and then kind of getting more fine-tuned and articulated, like, okay, those things are good. Are we prioritizing those antioxidant rich foods, like fruits? You know, I always think of my berries, my high fiber fruits, to keep those inflammation levels low. And that's kind of also where those unsaturated fats can come in to help with anti-inflammatory properties. Are we eating fiber-rich foods, right? Are we getting that fiber in to help with that same picture? And also looking at, you know, tying in other biomarkers, thinking about blood glucose, hemoglobin A1C, looking at those levels of HSCRP. So we're getting that picture of, okay, how are inflammation levels in the body? What is our blood sugar patterns looking like? Okay, also let's pull in our lipid panel and see where cholesterol levels are, because all of that, of course, is going to impact health span, but those are also going to be impacted as we get, especially, you know, perimenopause. Those biomarkers, those measures of health and health span are going to change with our hormones during kind of some of those transitional phases. So looking at the nutrition aspect, so maybe you could get away with not being too, like, having to pay too much attention to fiber rich foods, or not having to pay too much attention to getting antioxidant rich foods, and things like blood sugar, cholesterol levels, and inflammation looked fine when you were younger. But knowing those are some of the big things that are going to be impacted by these changing hormone levels as we age, being able to test and look at these things may show you, oh, wow, these numbers are heading in the wrong direction. They need work. I need to do more. Mm-hmm. What I was doing before was great. But now as I enter this life stage, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. Your body just needs a little bit more of those compounds from those foods to move the needle into that optimized zone. And I think that's a hard thing sometimes for people to understand is, oh, well, I added in oatmeal 3 times a week, but my cholesterol levels haven't gone down. Awesome that you've added in oatmeal 3 times a week, but maybe you just need a little bit more. Maybe we need legumes. Maybe we need to add in chia seeds. Maybe we need to do X, Y, or Z to continue to move the needle for you and get those biomarkers down into the optimized zone, or up into the optimized zone, depending on what we're looking at.
I like the recommendations that are made there, because analyzing the body's own data, that blood work that we're talking about, helps us to understand what's going on the inside. Because a lot of times my clients, especially, they read a magazine article or something, and so they start eating a little bit of this or a little bit of that, or they change this one thing. And, and it really is the whole picture that Inside Tracker is able to look at. Because I know these words, estradiol and whatever, how'd she say it? Estradiol.
Estradiol.
Thank you. Estradiol.
Yep.
It looks
like
so DIOL, and I'm like idle, but anyway, there's
right.
Yeah. So you don't have to know all of that. That's what's so great about Inside Tracker. There's certain parts of it that I totally understand but can't pronounce. But anyway, what I love about what Inside Tracker is able to do is that it kind of makes it simple for the average person. You don't have to know how to pronounce it. You don't have to know what the numbers are or should be, but you understand that once you put that information into your profile, that the profile algorithm and the blood work that comes in creates that science-backed action plan. And it gives you that personal information for personal optimization, because like Stevie said, what's optimal for her is going to be different from me. She's 30 years younger than me. So real food nutrition is what I'm all about, as you well know, and that information and the recommendations that come from those 47 different biomarkers is what really matters to me. So we did mention unsaturated fat, so I do want to just point out that salmon, good fatty fish, wild caught, so that it has all the nutrients it's meant to have. Walnuts, almonds, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, any of those kinds of things is what we're talking about. But again, I'm not sure what everyone's diet is, but those are listed under the unsaturated fat category, and that olive oil, like I mentioned, and some of the even coconut oil is kind of a gray area for most people. I think it's not gray personally, but I love the fact that it takes the guessing all out of this, or the article that you read, or the changes you think you made that are making a difference. And it helps you to actually have an objective measure of baseline health. And that's why we suggest getting one or more, or buying, bundles, because they do sell them in bundles for that reason, so that you've got a way to implement a tailored action plan, and then retest yourself again, or take another test to assess your progress and see what needed to be adjusted that worked, or see things that didn't work perhaps. And those are the things that we don't really see or don't really know from our precious PCPs, because they're all amazing, and I love my doctor. So I appreciate the fact that she's very kind to my understanding of these kind of things, because I always say I'm no doctor, but I do know my body. I know what feels right to me. I know when my energy is low. I know when I need certain things in my diet, and but I don't diagnose myself. I go to her, and together we work things out. And what I love about being able to at least own what I can own in my own body, and do what I can do, because there's certain things I have no control over, and but you can't manage what you don't measure. So I think that that you've heard me say, all my listeners have heard me say, a clearly defined problem is half the solution. And I think that sometimes we don't I don't want to know, what if things are bad? Well, what if things aren't quite that bad, and you could actually make them better? And so it's something pretty important to have those keys to your own portal, and follow your unique results and the recommendations and the foods and the recipes. And you can even set goals and track your options right there live on the screen. And that's something that we just don't see. Now, maybe doctors' offices will go that direction a little bit more in the future. Who knows? But you can, with my clients anyway, they can share their entire portal with me. And when they do that, or if they're my client anyway, I've got a nice big discount that I can give them. And that helps me to partner with them, knowing what goals and objectives that they want to work on. And that way, that information is shared by me as their partner. Now, they don't have to share any of it. They can just verbalize, here's something I want to work on. This is what Inside Tracker showed me. And that way it can stay private to them completely, but I can help, and together we can leverage that Inside Tracker data so that they can prioritize that unique and personalized insight that they've been getting. And that science-backed, I'm all about science, but understanding the real science is what's most important. And those recommendations come with information that you can follow up. Where the science came from, and even the blogs. So some of those, I'm a nerd when it comes to my health. I will admit I am a health nut. And so I love reading about that, because I do want to live long and strong. And when I say live long and strong, I'm talking about the fact that I want to not just live a long time, I want to live strong a long time. So my goal is not to be, pushing a walker and pulling an oxygen tank. I get up, I work out every morning, and there's so many things I could probably do better for myself, but I also know that I'm going to control what I can control. So as a board certified health and wellness coach, one thing I know for sure comes when it comes to achieving goals or optimizing health performance, I need informed choices. And that's what those lifestyle habits and some of the things that haven't served us well over time, we can change them and take a different path and see different results for ourselves. Right, Stevie?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
All right.
Can't disagree with any of it.
Sorry, I'm very passionate about. I'm
No,
very passionate
I'm
about
here for
health.
it. It's great.
And I think that is one of the things that I really appreciate so much about my clients. Anyway, they just dig in. They want to do better for themselves, and they know that things don't get better by chance. They get better by change. And managing those things is more in our power than what we really think is in our power. And Inside Tracker just really hands you the power. And then you've got people like Stevie or like myself who are Inside Tracker pros to help come alongside, to help you to understand and address those things that you want to address.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, it's if you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yes.
And healthcare providers are all great. Love my PCP too. And whenever I get my Inside Tracker results done, she gets excited. She's like, let's see what's going on. We have a 20-minute discussion. She's like, if you ever want me to order anything, I'll order whatever you want. Right. So
yes, mine too.
It's nice. And, I think oftentimes if you have a good provider, they're impressed that like, oh, this is a patient who actually wants to be proactive about their health. This is refreshing to me because it's not as common for them. And, you can build that rapport, or like you do with your clients and I do with my clients, we build that rapport, take that deeper dive, that more, in-depth approach that a lot of practitioners can't do in insurance-based situations, and really help you figure out like, okay, this is your action plan. I've got you. How can I support you take on kind of these new changes, behavior changes? How can we incorporate more of these foods that are going to help you feel better and improve and optimize these biomarkers? So I think that's awesome.
Thank you. That's great information. I think, I think the doctor patient partnership is so important. I think there are so many people who just kind of follow blindly, and that might be great, but it might not be great. And so really understanding what your body is doing and what it needs and what's working, what's not working, and understanding it. Don't just say, oh, well, hopefully they know what they're telling me. Now, I do believe pills and skills, but I always say, I want to increase your skills and help you decrease your pills. So Inside Tracker, nor Stevie or myself are against those medications or any of those things that are going to create more of a balance. But there's a lot of things that we can do for ourselves if we just understand self-care, if we understand our body's need for sleep and what that reset does for us each night, and how to pay attention to our body. Aches and pains are telling us something. So understanding what they mean and then being able to go in and ask your doctor, hey doc, what can I do? Not what can I take? And I got that from Dr. William Sears. I'm so appreciative of my work with Dr. Bill. And I love that. Instead of saying, well, what can I take for this? What can I do about this? How can I own part of this and really take things into, all the things into consideration as to what my body needs? So I really appreciate all of that. And I do get the ultimate test. Personally, I get the ultimate once a year, and then halfway through, I might get another specific test, but I usually do the ultimate, which includes inner age, which is super fun for me because I'm a healthy gal. So even though I might actually show up about 9 years younger than my physical age on my birth certificate. And I love watching that. That's like the first thing I go to when I see that report come in. I'm like, okay, how old are my innards?
Right? It's always like, ooh, what's it going to be?
And they warned me at first because I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, so 24 years now clean. And that's when I really started taking ownership more of my life and my life choices. And I started learning more about how to take better care of myself. And they warned me, they're like, oh, I don't know what your inner age is going to show. You've been through, so much. And so I was pleasantly surprised, and as were they. So how does this work? Let's say somebody is listening and they need whatever. What are you doing? I want to do that. So The first step is just to get tested. You
Mhm.
purchase your plan, and if you're interested in the discount, I actually offer a discount to all of my listeners through Inside Tracker, and it is, I'll just look for the code here because I have one, and it's WorkWell20. WorkWell20, and that'll give you 20% off. If you decide that you want to do something with me and you want me to be a partner with you or Stevie, then if you're listening to the Workwell podcast, use Workwell20 for your 20% off. If you're interested in working with me, I have a different code for more of a discount so that we can work on those things together. So I always offer a little more and consider a bundle, like I said, of 2 tests. So you can start with a biomarker baseline and then follow up maybe in 6 months to make sure that what you're doing is working well for you. Or better yet, I have a package called the Total Health Program, and that gives you 8 weeks of clean concepts, individual coaching program with me, plus Inside Tracker Pro. So those are some things that are accessible to you as listeners, and I'm super excited that you might be interested in that. And then once you log in and you've purchased it, then you'll get an order to take to the lab. But along with that, also online, you'll have a questionnaire that you fill out so that you can put in your personal profile, like I mentioned before, about your lifestyle, your nutrition, habits that you have, and preferences. And then you can also set some goals there. And then that analysis takes place, and those recommendations come after that blood work is in. And trust me, it's a lot of blood. They took like 6 vials from me, and it was super quick. I go to Quest over in Cumming, Georgia. And I love that particular office, so I always go back to them. And so they draw the blood, and then within, I don't know, 7 days, I was hoping against all odds that it would be here today so I could ask some specific questions of Stevie on the air, disclosing all my personal and private things. But I love that then you're going to get that science-backed recommendation and nutritional information that we talked about. And that way you can take action. You can begin to set goals and customize your nutrition and lifestyle and exercise, and then track your progress. And like I do since 2015, just to get one every year, just to kind of check it out, see what's going on inside, and get that look from inside. So I'm going to ask Stevie if she has any closing thoughts for us today.
Yeah. So my closing thoughts is just basically kind of reinforcing everything you said, right? Like getting tested through Inside Tracker is going to give you those deeper insights. If you are not a science person, you don't like to do the reading, you're not Stephanie, you're not me. It's simple. It's created in that platform, simple for you. The app is super easy to use. My mom can use the app. That's always a good sign. Easy to create that action plan, check in. But if you do love the science and that deeper dive, it is all at your fingertips. Even just in the app, quick snippets like, okay, what is this? Why should I care? Those questions are answered there. If you are a huge nerd like me, we got lots of great articles on the website that really take a deep dive, not just into every biomarker, but other kind of topics in the health span longevity space as well. If you really want to look at the research papers, we have many of them linked in the desktop version as well. Like, where did this recommendation come from? Oh, here's some of the papers we use that our science team used to pull these. So I think it's great for all kind of people on the spectrum to really help you feel empowered and take action to help you live healthier longer. So I could go on and on because I'm so passionate about this too. So I'll just cut myself off right there.
Oh, no, don't cut yourself off. Well, tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you if they're interested in talking to you, Stevie.
Yeah, if you're interested in talking to me, you can go to my website. It's stevieLynnRD.com. So Stevie like Stevie Nicks, Lyn, RD.com. You can also follow some of my adventures along on Instagram at Stevie Lynn. I will always warn people, you must love my dog because he It's a
Right.
strong appearance there, but those are the two best ways to find me and get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being our guest today virtually. I'm super excited to meet you myself, and maybe we can nerd it up together at some point later.
Love it.
I love your name too. I was telling our producer today about my dad always called me Stevie, and I was the last child after having 2 sons and 4 daughters. He wanted a boy, and so when I was born, ta-da! And so they came up with Stephanie Joe. I was supposed to be Stephen Joseph. So he still called me Steve and Stevie most all of my life growing up.
I was supposed to be named after my Uncle Steve.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a great connection that we have. See, look at that. And so is that your name? See, I'm Stephanie Joe, but
No, I'm Stevie.
you are Stevie. That's so cool. I love it.
I'm a twin. We were supposed to be twin boys, and I was the surprise. So I have a twin brother. We were supposed to be boys. I was supposed to be named after my Uncle Steve, and my parents didn't pick a girl's name. And of course, I was a baby of the 80s, so Stevie it was, like Stevie Knits, right?
Well, that's awesome. So, all right, that's all we have for you today. But I'm super excited that you were listening in today, live or on your favorite podcast channel. And today, you've been listening to Work Well with Stephanie Wolfe, brought to you by the Whole Food Health Coach LLC, where we make your goals our goals, and you're never alone on your wellness journey. So, for information about our corporate wellness programs, virtual classes, or our individual coaching programs, go to wholefoodhealthcoach.com. Our coaching is available virtually anywhere in the country. And also on that website, you will see Inside Tracker information, and the 20% off coupon is also listed there. So please visit wholefoodhealthcoach.com for more information on Inside Tracker or making sure that we can help you and support your wellness journey. I'm Stephanie Wolfe, wishing you well personally and professionally. See you next week live or on your favorite podcast channel. Until then, choose life.